Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody tonight? I hope you're all well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Let's say quick hello to Mystical Unicorn Painting, who's in the chat. Good evening, how are you? So then, what are we doing tonight? We are going to be taking a look at Alien, the role-playing game from Free League Publishing. Regular viewers to the channel will know that I have been talking about us exploring roleplay games on the channel in the future, and this is going to be the first. We're going to take a look through the core rules this evening. So by all means, any of you guys in the chat, if you want to ask any questions that hopefully I can flick through the book to be able to answer them for you, then feel free, type them on out. Let's explore the game together. Now, bit of a disclaimer, I am no expert in role-playing games. The last time I played a role-play, it was back in my college days. But I was thinking more recently, and the fact that I haven't been reading a lot and don't seem to have a huge amount of time to read novels, and I wanted to have something that would get my imagination going. And so what I thought was, well, how about reading through and learning some role-playing games? Because it's something that I used to do, haven't done for a long time, but also a role-play game is a gateway to your imagination, isn't it? It gives you the framework for you to put together your own stories or to live those stories with your friends. And I thought that role-playing games would be a good thing to sort of spend some time with. So I contacted Free League Publishing, and they were more than generous in helping me explore the plethora of roleplay games systems that are out there, because wow, the scene has changed so much since I played in college times. Of course, we have the pillars of role-playing, such as Dungeons and Dragons, of course, but I thought, let's take a look at some of the other games that are available, and Free League do have a huge catalogue of games to explore. So we're starting with one that I am very familiar with as far as the setting of the Alien movies. I'm sure that most of you guys on the channel will have watched an Alien movie at some time or another, and you more than likely might have played a miniatures game or painted up a xenomorph. So I thought this would be a good place for us all to start. Good evening, Amberden. Welcome. How are you? You think, hope it's an improvement on the last Aliens RPG? Well, there we go, mate. Let's take a look through, and hopefully you'll be able to see and answer your own question. If you do have any questions, please fire them at me. Let me see if I can explore the book for you to answer any queries you may have. So, let's just jump to the table here. So, Free League were very kind in sending a physical copy of the core rules. It is a hefty book. There's some real weight to this. I believe it's just shy of 400 pages of rules and information for us to go through. If you are not familiar with Free League Publishing, they are the company that have the award-winning games such as Tales from the Loop, Forbidden Lands, and Mutant Year Zero. They also have upcoming the Blade Runner role-playing game. So that's something exciting on the horizon. And these rules actually they were the winner of the 2020 Golden Emmy Award for Best Game. So this is all boding very well to start off with. As I say, this is a heavy book. Let's just open it up here. And it's all very nicely produced. And I'm just going to just flick through just quickly, because what we're going to do is transfer over to the digital copy of the rules. Obviously, when I was playing, there was no such thing as digital copies. So this is a very, very welcome addition, so I can read at my leisure on my tablet. You're getting a rough idea of how the game rules are laid out. So let's jump to the digital copy then. Okay, here we are. So, Amberden, you've already first question. One basic question for any RPG review is how long and how complicated is character creation? All right, well, I think we can probably answer that relatively quickly. So let's start going through. We'll move over to the digital copy here, so that we can take a look, and we'll come to that question. So in a few sort of pages time, so let's keep that one in mind. But I love this beginning. This is the start. This shows us the sort of galactic map with Sol being right in the center here. And one thing that I always loved about roleplay games, certainly where they're based on properties that we kind of know from movies or books, is that roleplay games just allow these authors to basically fill in all the gaps that were not necessarily explained in the movies. So I already love this this star map, and of course when we look down here, we do have LV, is it 426? I hope I'm right on that. Let me just make sure. I've got it in front of me here. Yeah, LV 426 Archeron. Of course, you guys will know exactly which planet I am referring to. We got some credits. We then go through the contents. And there is a lot for us to go through. As I say, just shy of 400 pages. Oh. There we go. Space is hell. I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies. Good evening, Roger. Welcome. You have joined us just in time, just as we're starting to look through Alien, the role-playing game. Alright, so it basically is giving us a little bit of an introduction, telling us about what is the setting, and straight away it jumps into explaining frontier life, because of course that is where all of the Alien the movies are obviously set in the frontier. I think it's only in one of the films do we finally get to Earth. I think we do. Hello, Necromantic. Agreed. How long is character creation? Any Aliens game is bound to be deadly if it is 2 hours to make a character and and your day every other adventure. Yes, okay, well, no, that's a fair point. I believe that of course it does come with archetypes right at the start, so that you are able to create your character pretty quick. So we'll move through. And you are quite right. This game, I've gone through the rules very basically. Yeah, there's lots of ways to die. It's all about death. It's all about, space is very, very harsh. Everything is trying to kill you, which of course, that is the theme of the Alien movies, isn't it, eh? And it's not just the alien, the xenomorph that's out to get you, it's everybody else. So we started getting a little bit of idea of some of the background. And it's giving us some of the backstory, some of the setting. Again, I think is it the Prometheus movie that gives us a good idea of where everything starts. But what I really then enjoyed is this timeline. And of course, as you go through this timeline, you can see the actual movies, where the movies are placed in the timeline. I believe that there might also be some materials from maybe the comics, because there was a big series of comic books, wasn't there, back in the, will it have been the 80s and 90s? Lord, no, the movies are only deadly because every time there's always one idiot who puts his head in an alien egg. That's very, very true, isn't it? I wonder who that idiot might be in our adventuring party. But I like it here that in 2023, following Peter Whalen's infamous TED Talk address, Whalen Corp begins developing new technologies that will catapult humanity into the future. We literally have just a couple of months to wait until the alien future is upon us. So, lots of information for us to look at here and to immerse ourselves into this universe. And so it's talking now about careers. So we're giving us our sort of broad archetypes. We have got the frontier colonist, the space trucker, the colonial marine, the company reps. We'll of course recognize them straight away from the movies. Just a quick question, just as a top line, what would you play as? Who would you be? A colonist, a trucker, a marine, or a company rep? Let's see what you guys would go for. Necromantic, you go for a marine. Okay. We'll see what everyone else says. So then we're talking about the different game modes. So there is cinematic play and campaign play. And of course, the book also is explaining what a roleplay game is. For anybody who's never played a roleplay game, then of course this is a good place to start to understand just how these games actually play out. So we don't have a game master or a dungeon master, we have a game mother. Of course we do. Cinematic play. A cinematic scenario emulates the dramatic arc of an alien film. Designed to be played in a single session, this game mode emphasizes high stakes and fast and brutal play. Conflict between player characters is likely, and you are not all expected to survive. In fact, most of your PCs probably won't live to see the end of the scenario. And I think that's an interesting element to this game, is that actually, yeah, most of us, the players, won't survive, but maybe it's a case of how you go out. Do you go out on your knees or do you go out standing? Yeah. So I think it's maybe a slightly different style of play than most typical role-playing games, is that actually there's a lot of fun in your death. Whereas campaign play is designed for longer continuous play with the same cast of player characters over several game sessions. Okay, so that's where we got more time to spend with the characters and the players, and maybe things are not over in the first session. Let's just see. So Necromantic wanted Marine. Amberden is going to go for the Trucker. And yes, you're quite right. There are sub-jobs like medics and heavy weapons. Yes, so don't worry. We'll come to that in a moment. And then, of course, it's going to emphasize what the key themes of any alien game is going to be about. It's going to be about space horror. It's going to be about sci-fi action. And then, of course, a sense of wonder. So, it's going to be very scary. Good evening, Pascal. Welcome. How are you? Hope you're well. We're just going through the Alien role-playing game from Free League Publishing. It has been a minute. It has indeed. I hope you're well. So we're going to get to tools of the game. We've got character sheets. There is a blank one, I believe, at the end of the book, though of course you can download. You're going to need some dice, and this is a D6 system. So any 6-sided dice that you have, which of course I'm sure we all have plenty of those. And you can get packs of cards. I don't believe, let's just see. Cards are used for two purposes: for drawing initiative in combat and for keeping track of key gear, weapons and vehicles. The custom cards are not required to play the game, but they are a useful supplement. Obviously, all of these items can be found at the Free League web store. So again, we're talking about what is a role-playing game, just in case we're not sure. And then, we move on to your character. So we've had a little bit of an introduction. We've got an idea of the universe. It's teased us a little bit about what our character might be, who they might be within this universe. And now we're going to start drilling down a little bit, looking in a little more detail. Okay, so again, we've got our choice of cinematic or campaign play. I would imagine that if and when we play this game on the channel, we would be doing cinematic play. We would be aiming for doing it over a couple of sessions. We would probably have to freeze our game partway through, and I believe that the way that the cinematic play is created, it's divided into arcs just like a movie. So maybe we do the first arc over a couple of sessions, and then the second, and then the third. So then, core concepts, here we go. We have a career for our character. So here we go, how to create your player character. So it's described in detail, the summary is below. So we choose a career, we spend points on attributes, we spend points on skills, choose a career talent, then choose the character's name, decide on the appearance, decide on their personal agenda, choose a buddy and a rival, and then pick their gear and a signature item and roll for cash. Alright, I like the idea of rolling for cash. That's always a good one. So, career. First choice of your character is, in campaign play, is your career. Your career is determined your background and your role in the group. It influences your attributes, your skills, and your starting gear, and what starting talents they have. Now, I believe that, again, within the cinematic play, they might already be pre-generated characters, so that you can just get started straight away. Because, of course, it's just that mini story that we're playing. But, of course, the rules are there for being able to create your character from scratch. We then have the attributes. The character has 4 attributes. Indicate their basic physical and mental capabilities. So, strength, agility, wit, and empathy. That's quite cool, but it's quite a small number. Thank you for that resub, Amberden. 39 months. My goodness. So your starting attributes, you distribute a total of 14 points across your attributes. You may assign no less than 2 and no more than 4. There's a little bit of a side piece there on androids, because yes, you can play an android. I can remember what the name of the android in the Prometheus is David, but what was the name of the android in Alien? And of course, it was Bishop in Aliens. What was the name in the Alien movie? Can anyone remember? Ash. That's it. Ash, played by Frodo Baggins himself. You get points if you know that reference. Okay, skills. Your skills are the knowledge and abilities that you've acquired during your life. And it'll go into more detail. Talents, tricks and moves and minor abilities that give you a small edge. Okay, interesting. Now, here's the bit that started getting interesting for me. Stress. Life in space is lethal. More often than you'd like, you'll find yourself under extreme pressure. In the game, this mounting tension is represented by your stress level. It usually starts at 0 and it can increase by pushing dice rolls and by experiencing frightening or stressful situations. So this is something that is obviously a large part of the game. Stress. Oh, goodness. We then have your health. And again, I explained that this game is all about how you can die. So we'll look at health in more detail. And then we get to the personal stuff. Your name, your appearance, personal agenda. Now, this I found interesting. You might be a team, but each individual player character in your group also has an angle of their own, a personal agenda. How personal agenda works differs between cinematic and campaign play. So we're going to focus on the cinematic. In cinematic play, the NPC's agendas are predetermined by the scenario. So at the beginning, each of the 3 acts of the scenario, the GM gives each PC a handout with a new agenda for the act. The agendas are hidden. You should not show them to the other players or write them down on your character sheet. At the end of each act, the GM evaluates the actions of each player character. If you took any specific actions to further your agenda during the act, you are awarded 1 story point. Acts, agendas, and story points are explained later on. I think this is really great. There's a lot of board games that I've played that have this sort of, maybe the traitor mechanic within them. And of course, as a role-playing game, this gives you the opportunity for you to role-play your character. You have an idea of what your character's going to try and achieve, and that might be, and more than likely is, counterpoint to what the other players are trying to do. And maybe you find out that you are the traitor in the game. I think that's a great idea because, of course, as we sort of said right at the beginning, we all know that we're probably not all going to survive. So that being the case, if you're the bad guy, be the best bad guy you possibly can be. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Buddies and rivals. So again, talks about a small group of people facing down unknown and horrifying dangers in the cold darkness of space. And to survive, you need to find someone to trust, but also be careful who you turn your back on. So I'm liking both of those. Then we move to your gear. So necromantic, you said you wanted to be a marine. So we'll be dealing with that in a second. But there is a little bit of a side note here. Player versus player. In the Alien role-playing game, your PC can end up in direct confrontation with another player character. This is quite common in cinematic play, less so in the campaign. In cinematic play, it's up to the GM to call out when a player versus player situation escalates beyond the point of no return. Oh my goodness. So, the player character who has turned traitor, if they are still alive, becomes a non-player character from now on, is under control of the GM. And the player in question is given a new player character to play if one is available. So, yeah, there can come situations where you are absolutely counterpoint to the rest of the group, but I guess if you're going to be doing that, make it fantastic. So here we go, we're going into our gear, starting gear, signature items, and then vehicles and spaceships. So typical rules here, the encumbrance and consumables. It's going to go into more detail on our gear as we progress through. Then we're looking at developing our character with our experience points. Spending XP and then changing our buddies and rivals. So at the end of the game session, you can change who your buddy and rival is. I love all of the artwork throughout the book here. Of course, it's wonderful to see all these scenes that are very evocative of the Alien franchise. So here we go then. Colonial Marine. So these are the preset sort of character templates. So it gives you a good idea of what your personal agenda might be, your signature items, your appearance, the type of gear that you might have. It's giving you an idea of key attributes and skills and talents. So, Necromantic, you said you would be a Marine, so there you go. Oh, have we gone too far? So this next one, and again this is where we have to start building on the universe that we're within, going beyond what the movies showed us. This is a colonial marshal. So this is the is a cop, space cop. Which is interesting. And of course, there are plenty of movies or books that you can draw maybe a little bit of inspiration as far as how you might want this character to act. We then go to the company agent. Burke, wasn't it? I think it was Burke. Paul Reiser. I like how signature item, divorce papers. yeah. What's that saying about the character already? So I like that. We have the kid. There's always a kid. Sounds like that option is based on the Saturn III film with Sean Connery. I know the movie you're talking about, Amberden. Yes, what great inspiration for your character. See, there's some classic, I guess, what was that 70s? Yes, classic 70s sci-fi movies to be able to draw inspiration for some of your characters. We have the medic. So we were talking about different character classes before. 1980s? Okay. Yeah, must have been early 1980s, I think. And then the officer, which of course is Ripley, isn't it? It's got to be Ripley. But of course, for your game, it could be Eugene Proctor. Who knows? Depends what name you decide to go for. She was the first officer in the movie, yep. We then have the pilot, which even though, what was her name? I mean, basically the pilot, was it Frost? Was it Frost? I mean, she's in it for such a short period of time, you know. We're in the pipe 5 by 5, but, you know, yeah, she didn't last long. Oh, too far. The Roughneck, the Space Trucker. So this is you, Amberden, I take it? Mac Masterson. Or Kip Tranter. Then we have a scientist. Which, of course, given the nature of the game, this was a character that we didn't really... I suppose Ash in the first movie is kind of the scientist. Oh no, actually, no, Ash was on Ash assigned more medical, I guess. He was probably both, actually, wasn't he? That's something. I mean, in the Alien movies, do we ever really see scientists? Because I do, you know, as we said right at the start, it only takes one of these characters to remove their space helmet and put their head over an egg. You know, they're not very scientific, are they? So they make some very lousy decisions. So there we go. So we have a number of characters to choose from there. We're then going on to skills. Alien Resurrection had scientists. It did, didn't it? Of course it did, yes. In that research facility. Quite right. Okay, so it's now going through the mechanics of the game, all about rolling the dice and successes, failures. I like the chart here that says your chance of success. So rolling one die, you have a 17% chance of success. But you are able to push your roll. So any dice that you are not successful on, you can potentially re-roll those dice, but that would be it. That's your one chance of pushing yourself to the limit. And of course then, we have our stress levels, which then could possibly failures turn into panic. And it is, of course, all about this sense of panic that is building up within your character, within the environment. A sense of dread. We're going a bit more detail on how rolls are achieved, various modifiers and difficulties, getting help from the other players. Ideally, you're working as a bit of a team. Well, hopefully you are. And then it's going through some of the skills here. So skills in heavy machinery, in stamina. Close combat and mobility, piloting, ranged combat. So of course, these skills associate to the core attributes that we mentioned right at the beginning. Observation, comtech. Survival, manipulation. I like this one. Manipulating others to do what you want. This, if you are going to be the company agent, manipulation is probably something that you'll be rolling a lot of. Negotiating your position. And I like how it is an element of actually doing some role-playing. Really, you discuss and put forward your point of view. You will get points from the GM to see if you are successful. I like that. Medical aid, command. We then move to talents. This is giving us an idea of what the various archetypes, their talents. So the Marines, banter, overkill, past the limit. The kids' talents, beneath notice and dodge and nimble. Company agent, there you go, cunning, personal safety. Oh yeah, there's a big section on personal safety for the company agent. this does, you know, again, I am no expert on this, so this is why I am showing you guys, and you are able to work out and make your own opinions of it. But yes, things seem, I'm not saying basic, but they seem cut down quite tight. It's enough for you to work from, and I like that because, you know, coming in as a potential new player, I don't want to be too overwhelmed. Blood Doll over on YouTube. You have a few Alien versus Predator cards. Are the Alien versus Predator cards as in... Do you want to explain? Is this, are they part of the Alien roleplay game? Because that's actually... This is... As I've worked my way through this, of course, you know, it's all about the Alien, but... hopefully... Is there going to be a Predator roleplay? Could we bring the two together? Please say yes, someone, please. But welcome to the channel. Thank you for dropping by. Tell us more about these Alien versus Predator cards. So we have more talents. We have the officer and the pilots, the roughnecks. So yes, we have a couple of talents per character archetype. And then... Here we go. We have general talents. So there's a whole load here. So we're not just limited to what are specific to our archetype. There are obviously ones that can be used by all characters. Merciless. You can perform a coup de grace. Coup de grace? Coup de grace? We'll talk about that later. Page 99. A coup de grace without rolling for empathy. Also, your stress level is decreased 1 step each time you cause an enemy to be broken. We will explain that in a second. Does anybody know what a coup de grace is? I don't think it's, well, is it a coup? I don't think it's coup. It's not. I don't think it's coup de grace, but maybe it is. If you explain what, I already know what it means. If you explain what you think it means, we'll soon find out. Like stabbing a sleeping person. Yeah, basically. Yeah, we'll get to that point. One hit kill. Okay, you guys are on board. You already know. So Blood Doll is saying the Aliens versus Predator cards is it a collectible card game that's got predators, aliens, and humans? You don't know how to play it, but you collect things that come in threes. I mean, again, I remember playing the Alien versus Predator video game on the PC where you could choose which one of the groups you wanted to play as. Oh my goodness, it was such great fun. Has anybody else played any of the video game Alien-based games? Let's see what you guys have played. Because again, you could take video game situations and put them into the roleplay. So combat and panic. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering. Don't panic. So time and space, we've got maps and zones, border, line of sight, measuring time. These are all important aspects to give us a sense of where we are, what's happening. Necromantic, currently playing Aliens Fireteam Elite with a friend. Excellent. Oh, I hadn't moved along, so you couldn't see the time and space element I was just spoken about. Oopsie. All right, but moving on. And I think this is obviously a core part of the game and of the movies, of course. And that is stealth mode. In the Alien role-playing game, much of the thrill happens before the enemy shows itself and bullets start flying. A key part of the experience is exploring unknown locations with enemies lurking in the darkness. In the game, this is represented by what we call stealth mode. Yes. To have that feeling of dread, to know that you are within this space station or maybe this underground prison facility, and you know that there is an alien. but it's not there with you, and the dread that is building up as you are frantically trying to find resources with which to defend yourself, but maybe this next room could be your last. Motion trackers. Motion trackers, of course. Mystical, Aliens Fire Team is terrifying when you are watching it. You guys, regulars to the channel, will know that I always include some special effects within our streams. So if you guys want to type out, or at least one of you, exclamation tracker, you see, it's that just instantly already the anxiety is starting to build. Game over, man, game over. Indeed. All right, so yes, of course you've got motion trackers within the game, and of course that's a great way for the game, or the game mother, to be able to build up the anxiety, build up the tension, for you to maybe have an idea what is coming. We go on to actions and initiative. And, you know, we're getting lots of different charts that give us all of the rules we need to be able to move around the environment. Again, if you've played role-playing games before, this is all going to be very familiar. It's just unique to this particular game system. We then go to ambushes and sneak attacks before, of course, close combat. Aliens, you know, obviously they attack up close and personal. Mystical saying, please play this with Sarah. I can use that to build her anxiety. Well, I am hoping that there will be a few people on a channel who would want to join on in and play. The intention is that we will start exploring roleplay games in Season 6 of the channel, starting February next year. I need a little bit of time for me to get familiar with the system and see how it might work on the channel. But if you are interested in taking part, drop me a line on the Discord. Just say that you are interested, give me an idea of people and numbers. So we're looking at close combat, resolution, blocking, grappling, shoving, retreating. Oh, and then of course, ranged combat. Let's get those assault rifles going. So we've got full auto fire, we've got cover and ammo and overwatch. And here we go, and then we get to the damage. So if a character gets down to 0 health, they are broken. Which doesn't mean they're completely out of the game, but they're really not doing anything at that point. They are they're down on the deck, they are desperate to survive. And, you know, potentially you can get back up. If somebody is able to give you first aid, then you might get back into the fight. Or if you can, you know, move yourself somewhere away from the threat, then maybe you can heal. But we have then, so we're saying that coup de grace? So a broken character is defenseless. If it's a human being and you want to kill your target outright, you must fail an empathy roll. Whether or not you succeed at killing your target, you increase your stress level. Unless you have the merciless talent, where you can kill defenseless enemies without this negative effect. Fantastic. And so ultimately then we do have death. But what I like then, of course, is we come over to the next page. Critical injuries chart. Oh my goodness, look at all the ways that you can get hurt. See? Out there in the deep space, it's not good. It's not good at all. Broken nose, broken ribs, gouged eyes, crushed elbows, a hit in the crotch, ruptured intestines, a busted kidney, and then, oh my goodness, you're disemboweled, you have a crushed skull, a pierced head, and an impaled heart. Your heart beats for the last time. No one can hear you scream. No. No. There's a lot of death. How does broken teeth result in -2? Well, not to sound too much like a threat, Amberden, but you try having all your teeth broken and see if you can function at 100%. Yeah, I think, well, and -2, obviously, in your manipulation, when you try and smile, because you're trying to manipulate someone, you're trying to sweet talk them, and there you are with all raggedy teeth falling out of your mouth. You're hardly going to have a Tom Cruise smile. I think that makes sense. I like that. I mean, that was good. Okay, let's carry on. Oh, stress and panic. The mounting tension in your character is measured by a stress level. It usually starts at 0 and increases during the course of the game. Your stress increases if you push a skill roll, if you fire a burst of full auto, if you suffer 1 or more points of damage, if you go without sleep or food or water, if you perform coup de grace, if a scientist in your team fails to use the analysis talent, a member of your own crew attacks you, a person nearby is revealed to be an android, or you encounter certain creatures or locations as determined by the GM. Wow. My anxiety is rising. You'd forgotten what the manipulation skill does in the game, right? Yes, it's your being persuasive, it's convincing others to do what you want. So I imagine not having a mouth full of broken teeth would probably help things along a little bit. So we got panic rolls, we got stopping panic, relieving stress. This is probably all a very good section to read regardless of playing the game. Unfortunately, stress and panic cannot be resolved on a D6. Not in real life anyway. Other hazards, because, yeah, you know, like I say, we're getting our way, we're up to page 100, and already it's how to die in multiple ways. Starving, dehydration, exhaustion, vacuum, freezing. What else can happen to you? You can fall, you can be exploded, you can be on fire, you can suffer from disease. But it doesn't end there, because you can suffer from radiation or drowning or suffocation, or synthetics come along and try and kill you. My goodness me, there's just so much stuff that wants you dead. Oh, nice little thing there. Electric sheep. It is illegal to program an android for violence against humans. See, we may, before the year is out, we may look at that in a bit more detail. It depends on what the D6 is, I think, says Mystical. A DD6 with alcoholic drink names on it would help, I'm sure. I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would. And of course, then, the ultimate killer in the Alien universe is the Xenomorph. But we're gonna keep on moving because we then have vehicle combat. Again, this is the great thing about the roleplay game, is it's got to explore everything that you possibly could do. And I guess we saw a bit of vehicle ramming in the Alien movies, but hey, what happens if vehicles are actually being used? What about if that troop carrier was being used as it was meant to be, with its guns blazing? So we have to have all the rules for that as well. Moving on to gear. I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine. This is an M41A pulse rifle, 10mm, with over and under 30mm pump action grenade launcher. Feel the weight. Okay, what do I have to do? Oh yes. So we can start going through the different weapons. And again, I love all the detailing on this. We've got some basic firearms, service pistol, magnum revolver. And then we move up from that. We have an EVA pistol and a bolt gun. And then we move to the rifles, which of course there we are. The Armat M41A pulse rifle. Scope rifles, 12 gauge pump action shotguns, harpoon grappling gun, phase plasma pulse rifle. Look, you can get one quite easily for $20,000. Bargain at that price. Heavy pulse rifle. Moving on to heavy weapons, which of course we have the M56A2 smart gun, and then the incinerator unit. So we got plenty of hardware. And then close combat weapons. Yes, oh yeah, people do awesome jobs with Lego, don't they, Amberden? Yeah. So we got suits and armor. Of course, we've got the cargo lifter there, the loader, and then there is every. I mean, again, that's the thing. The game's got to cover everything. So we got computer mainframes and data storage, different diagnostics and displays, vision devices, various tools, medical supplies, pharmaceuticals, med kits, surgical kits, auto docks, and then of course even just the basics, food and drink. And then vehicles. Aha, here we go. The M570 series armored personnel carrier. Awesome, awesome machine. It lets you do more than just hunting xenomorphs, indeed. Yeah, I could well imagine that you could play this just as colonists against colonists. Because when you get a sense of the universe that you're within, out in the frontiers of space, there's probably enough reasons for infighting before you even introduce an alien. So yes, just living your lives out in that in that sort of universe. But of course, you gotta have the tactical dropship. I thought this was such an amazing model in the movie. looked awesome, especially when it deploys its hard points. I thought that's absolutely amazing. And then we get into sort of bigger ships. It's a hard life amongst the stars. So we then move on. Faster than light speed travel, hyper sleeping within the stars. Charted space, so we understand a little bit more about from the star map we saw at the beginning. Breaks down the core systems, the outer veil, the outer rim, the far reach, and the frontier. And then living in space. So in fact, here we go, Necromantic, you're talking about all colonists first versus corporations. Here's now all the flavour for that. And we start looking at spaceships and space stations. Again, isn't the art just absolutely amazing on this? Anchor Point Station. I think, was that not where Ripley recovers in Aliens right at the beginning? A large station. And then we talk about the deep space colonies, living quarters. Gives you an idea of function over before fashion. Oh. Money and identification, work for hire. Communications on the frontier, media and entertainment. So it's giving you absolutely everything. Religion, law enforcement. All the things you need for you to create this universe. And then spacecraft. And how about FTL and the different speeds that you can go at, and then attributes for the spaceship, because of course your spaceship itself is near enough a character. We'll see a spaceship in a second that of course really needs no introduction. So you can have your own ship. Oh, too far again. So if you're going to have your own ship, you can build it from scratch if you have enough cash to do so. So these are all the elements, the core components that you should consider. I don't know if any of you guys played Elite on the PC and on the consoles. The one where you could do space trading between planets. When I was reading through this, I was thinking of that video game, and here we are now being able to roleplay it. So we got a table here of all the internal modules, how much it costs to basically purchase them, on what size, what level. So very much a little bit like the charts in the Elite game that I played. Oh. And here we go, commercial deep space salvage vessel. So it gives you an idea. It'd be nice, you know, you could possibly sketch up an image of your ship. Again, that's the great thing about roleplay games, is that you're able to allow your creativity to come through. Do a bit of a 2D sketch, and obviously creating all the floor plans for the interior of the vessel. Because, of course, all those corridors and all those rooms, they're going to be vital, aren't they, for the game. Moving on to armament. Tactical nukes. It's the only way to be sure. Various upgrades, getting regular maintenance. And then it does start going through sort of predetermined vessels. If you don't want to create your own. There's a whole load there. So, this one, of course, is instantly recognizable. little more info. And then, of course, again, something that we didn't see in the movies, space combat. So detection, declaring actions, sensor operator. So again, plenty of things you can do. Have I gone too far? Pilot actions. Sensor pilot, gunner and engineer. And then, here we go. Another recognizable ship. Troop capacity 90. Where was everybody else when the Marines were down on the LV 426? What happened there? I think if 90 troops went down, things might have been a different story. And more actions, talking about armor and damage, component damage. And again, lots of charts. All very helpful. And then once it's damaged, you need to repair it. And we just got lots of examples of ship combat here. That's 90 troops, or 8 people, and the rest is set up to contain captured aliens without the crew knowing. Yes, possibly so. Possibly so. And so that is pretty much everything we've just gone through. That was the player section. And we then get to the game mother section. And this is obviously the area where the game mother is controlling the game, directing the flow of the narrative. You are the game mother. You are the cold darkness of space itself. The colonists running the atmosphere processes, the greedy corporations and their machinations. You are long lost secrets waiting to be discovered. You are the xenomorphs. Love it. So what we're going to do is, because it's quite a lot to go through. We have our themes, stress and horror. It's all about the stress and horror. The 3 stages of fear. Oh my goodness. Dread, terror, and horror. Well, Amberden, come on, it's thematic for the world we are living in, yes? It is a game mother. Because Mother was the control of the ship, wasn't she? So it's very appropriate for the game. So it starts to talk about non-player characters and the cinematic play. I'm going to enjoy reading this section. So in fact, here we go, yes. Acts and events. Act 1, the setup. PCs and NPCs are introduced, conflicts are established. Act 2, the tilt. Something unexpected happens, raising the stakes and the level of danger. Secrets are revealed. And in Act 3, the showdown. The story comes to a climactic resolution depending on the actions of the PCs. That's cool. See, again, I like this aspect of role-playing games because, you know, of course, it's the breakdown of a story or a movie, and you know, gives opportunity. If you're going to write it yourself, then this is obviously all very, very good material to read. think they would give you grief being a game mother? I think it's a very thematic name change. So what I'm going to do, because there's just so much, I mean, again, it's all lots and lots of background information. This is what I enjoyed when I was younger, when I had role-play games, as I said right at the start, is being able to read through and really immerse yourself in the world, in the universe. And because, you know, with other sort of properties, you're a fan of that property, you want to learn more about it. And so this starts to break down, what is the alien universe? What is the history? How did mankind spread out in the stars? How do we get to the point where the alien movies actually start? And it talks about the various, the Free World Empire. Blood Doll over on YouTube. What is the objective of the game? It really depends on the story that is being played. And so each story, so you can... So just if you've never played a role-play game before, there's essentially, I suppose, there's two ways you can approach it. You can approach it where you actually create a story yourself. You can create all of the maps and the flow of this a narrative. You can allow your players to create their own characters and put them into the story you've created, or maybe you create characters for them and they go through. Or you can get yourself pre-made scenario or campaign packs, and that's actually something that we'll be doing on Wednesday night, because there are already several scenario packs available for the Alien roleplay game. One has just been released, I think it was only last week, which is called The Heart of Darkness. So we're going to take a look at what one of these scenario packs is actually like. We'll do an unboxing of that. Obviously, due to the nature of the way that these games work, I can only sort of tease a little bit of it, because we don't want to give away any of the secrets, because of course that's what the game mother would be aware of, and it's for the players to discover during the course of their play. But we'll be able to take a look at a little bit of a look, have a look at maybe the setting, get a flavour for it. All right, so that's what we're going to do on Wednesday. So join us on Wednesday. I'll give you an idea. What I can do is actually at the back of this book there already is a scenario for you to actually play. Which again, the characters are pre-generated, so you just hand out those characters to the players, sit around the table, or you can even do games online using maybe Discord, and actually play it as a group, interacting with one another, allowing the story to unfold, and you, of course, you're making your decisions as you go, which will influence the story. Does the main book have some generic enemies? It does. It does. So shall we? We'll speed through some of this now, because this is all again setting the scene of the universe. You can spend a lot of time reading all of this, which is it's all good. It's all very, very good. It's all very informative. Of course, not only do we have governments, but we have corporations. Corporations are a large part of the alien world. So Wayland Yutani, of course, you guys, I'm sure, will know that name. We go on to systems and planets. So again, giving us that information there, Sol. Depends what section of the is it going to be? It's Galaxy, isn't it? Is it Galaxy? I think it'd be Galaxy, wouldn't it? Blood Doll. I have to ridicule my opponent for losing. I don't know if you're ridiculing them. I mean, as we understand, because of the nature of an alien type of story, you know, most of the players are potentially going to die, depending on their actions. So, but I don't know if you ridicule them. Maybe explain that a little bit more. The outer veil. Just so much information. The frontier. So your game could be set anywhere. Doesn't necessarily have to be on one planet. Could be on several planets in a system. Okay, so here you go. This is what you want to be looking at, isn't it? Let me just skip to the page. The Titan Prometheus wanted to give mankind equal footing with the gods. For that he was cast from Olympus. Well, my friends, the time has finally come for his return. So, again, this is looking at the greater expanse of the Alien series of movies. We have the Engineers, which of course were first sort of introduced in Prometheus. Lots of info to read up on regarding them. They were in Aliens. The Engineers were in Aliens. Tell me where they were in Aliens, Lorna. Oh, actually, no. I think you're right. Actually, yes, because well, that's it. The giant, yes, the big chair. In fact, because now you see, so who was the big blue dude in Prometheus right at the beginning? Because that's the Engineer, isn't it? So who was the blue guy? Well, Newt and her family went to the Engineer's ship. And you know how that turned out. So the blue guy was an engineer. But why was... So is the blue guy this guy without a mask on? I never quite understood that bit. And then of course we come to the xenomorphs. Engineers are a species, not an individual. Yeah, but I never... So, who was the blue guy at the beginning of Prometheus who then dived off the waterfall? Somebody tell me that. That's the bit I don't know. The xenomorphs, which of course, that's what we want. So we start with the neomorph. So he was the engineer that created life on Earth. Yes, they nicknamed the suits elephant suits. So the elephant suit guy is still an engineer, it's just a suit, isn't it? Okay, I get it. So, neomorph. So, info on that. And then it starts to sort of break down, doesn't it? The different types. So, stage 2, neomorphic moat. Stage 3, neomorphic bloodburster. A juvenile neomorph, and then the adult neomorph, and then we got xenomorphs. Gosh, there's just so many morphs going on here, but the xenomorphs are the ones that we know. So we got stage 1 starting in the egg, then it goes to the face hugger, then it's the chest burster, we get into the scout, the soldier, and then of course the queen. And so we're getting more detail. We're getting the attributes. For each of the xenomorph in its various stages. Oh, yeah, you see, you can't talk about a chest burster without, well, a bit of chest bursting going on, right? Oh, yeah. So then we have the Stalker, Scout and Drone. Soldier, Worker and Sentry. Again, you know, you could just spend all your time reading this. So again, you got the Praetorian, the Crusher and the Queen. So it's just loads of information. And then, oh, bit of a tease. Stage 7 and beyond. Wow, okay. And then the Alien Hive. But the universe can't be just about xenomorphs. There's got to be other species out there. And so we've got the Swarm. And harvesters. I told you this book is just all the many ways you could die in space. Lion worms. Tankana scorpionids. Tanakan. Let's go with that. Okay. And so then it talks about campaign play. So this is where you're going to be playing the game over a series of scenarios. So Necromantic, they've done a good job of keeping the lore the same throughout the IP. The Fireteam game has a lot of different xenomorphs and recently added more neomorphs. Alright, okay, that's good. I guess, I mean, there is something good about the fact of that the Alien universe is quite contained, isn't it? You know, so they filled it out enough for you to feel that there's a full universe there. But not too much. So, just the right level, I think. Campaign play. So we'll go through this relatively quickly. We've got our space truckers, colonial marines. We're going through the main points. Creating your star systems. I mean, my goodness, and main world creation. You know, you really do have all the tools to create everything you possibly could want. Your temperature of your planet. Oh, too much. What type of mission the colony on the planet is attempting to do. Is it terraforming? Is it research? Is it mineral drilling? Colony size? Colony factions? Scenario hooks. So if you're not quite sure how you want your stories to go, you can actually randomly generate it. That's quite cool. Unknown to you, an old friend or flame is at the colony. Sudden restriction on free movement unless you can find a way to avoid it. Ah. And of course, you know, there's no reason why there's many other forms of literature and, you know, TV shows in a sci-fi setting. You could possibly pull elements and stories from those. Maybe your colonists find a proto-molecule. Who knows? Job generator. Oh, too much again. Cargo runs. Lots of charts, military missions. Expeditions. There is just so much, isn't there? Oh, here we go. Plot twists. An NPC is suddenly murdered. Who did it and why? You know, your entire game could be a whodunit on one of these frontier colonies. Not a single alien in sight. The true evil is the humans in the colony itself. Encounters. So again, ship reactions, on-planet encounters. NPCs. So giving us a... what does a refurbished android look like? I mean, I've seen refurbished iPads. What happens when you... how do you get a refurbished android? So we got lots of NPC charts here, giving you their attributes, their skills, their talents, their health, and their gear. All pre-done, ready to go. Novgorod Station. Lower budget planets, people buying used androids and fixing them up. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. So here we go. We're getting a schematic of the station. Getting an idea of one of the cabins. Now, did it actually say? I'm just making sure. So, I think this is just an example. Just want to make sure I don't inadvertently stumble on something. So it's given us an idea of this station. All the different areas within it, a little bit of a description. You can get a general idea. And talks about some events and gives us some characters. Now, is that... I think this is the start then of... what is the scenario at the back of the book. So that pretty much brings us to the end. What I'm going to do, because I don't want to show anything, just in case people decide that they do want to get themselves this game. I don't want to ruin anything. Is there something I can show you? Let's see if we can quickly... There you go. This is a good little bit here. Just showing you pre-made characters. And then right at the back we have got character sheets. I think, of course, you can download these, so you can have a digital sheet, or you can print it out quite easily. And I think that brings us to the end. So there you go. And see, that's where we are in the book myself, as I've been going through it with you. What do you guys think? Did you see something of interest? Is this a game that you would be intrigued to learn more about? The book is excellent quality. There's no... Everything's nicely printed. Obviously, I showed you the digital, so you don't get the light reflecting on it. But yeah, it's all nice, as you might expect. As I say, you can get obviously the book. You can get the digital version. There is a Alien role-playing game starter pack that has the core rules. It includes dice and cards, which it does suggest can be helpful, though not essential. You can use your D6s that you already have. So yes, dice and cards. So there we go. So what we're going to do is on Wednesday evening, we're going to take a look at one of the expansions, which is called Heart of Darkness. So if you're intrigued to learn more, then do join us then on Wednesday. On tomorrow evening, Sarah will be joining me on the channel because we're getting close to Halloween. We will be playing a spooky Halloween kind of themed game. So if you like your monsters from the silver screen, then do join us tomorrow from 7 o'clock. But I feel if we're going to end tonight's stream, there is really only one way to do it. Keeping in theme with everything that we have seen tonight. So I will bid you my farewell, but Lorno's already kind of halfway there. If one of you would be so kind as exclamation destruct.
Danger. The emergency destruct system is now activated. The ship will detonate in T-minus 10 minutes. The option to override automatic detonation expires in T-minus 5 minutes.